You're listening to Raising Anchor on 990 WBOB. Welcome to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey. Your home for news, analysis, and everything Rhode Island FC. Each week, they take you inside the locker room, inside the tactics, and inside the storyline shaping RIFC. Now, here's Matt and Jason.
Rhode Island FC opened the floodgates, drowning Brooklyn FC 4-1 in a goal fest that saw the Amber and Blue get the job done at Centerville Bank Stadium on the weekend. We're going to ask ourselves today, is this a sign for the future of Rhode Island FC, or is the verdict still not out after besting this expansion side? We're going to go over all of that, including the goals galore. But first and foremost, got to check in with the co-host with the most back on the East Coast in one, Mr. Jason Carey. Jason, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing great, buddy. I mean, I'm not in Hawaii, but it's weather's nice outside today. But not exactly related to RIFC, but a lot of soccer news has come out. I'm not sure which one is the worst of these, maybe depending on what, fan of a team you are, but Tottenham survived. A lot of us were hoping for the memes that they weren't. Diego Luna got snubbed from the U.S. men's national team. A lot of us are upset about that. But also Bryant University, where RIFC played their first season, apparently is relocated to Boston as a lot of the, base camps got announced. So
I'm sure from a popularity standpoint, it's probably Tottenham surviving, since it felt like the entire world was against them on decision day. You hate to see Luna snubbed, to your point, but I got to go with you on the whole Boston Bryant University thing. If this is now where we are going to land and plant the soccer flag across the global game, does that mean then that Rhode Island FC is the first professional men's team to play in Boston? Because we opened our season at Bern. I think that means we get this credit forever. Update the wiki, somebody, because Revolution, you're never going to sing that now.
I mean, yeah, I didn't think about that. I guess we are the if that's where Bern Stadium is now, apparently we were the first team to play in Boston then.
Again, update the Wikipedia. But no, I agree. The weather's great here. I'm sure that the weather's great there, although by the time we get to game day on the weekend, or the weekend in general, who knows how New England's going to treat people. Got to get right into this action here for the show ahead, starting with goal of the week considerations. Jason, make the plea for why it's Josiah Kwizera, because there were some wonder strikes in this week's competition.
Yeah, most of the time, one of our players gets nominated for goal of the week, and sure, maybe we're a little bit biased, but honestly, objectively, I think there have been quite a few weeks where ours was the best goal. There's some absolute bangers out there, that Aaron Malloy goal, and also that Dimitri Efrediv goal. Silla's goal was pretty decent as well, too. But you got to get out there and vote for our boy Josiah. I mean, that curling shot, it's phenomenal. I think it'd be great to see one of our players get the nod.
I got to kind of go with Ewan for a second here. No JJ Williams. We're going to talk about it at length during the breakdown of that half, but I kind of almost feel like we've seen the Josiah goal before. He feels very lethal in that top right corner. I kind of have to put more respect on what Williams did. I'm still glad that either one of these players got it. Obviously, you do a curl like this past a former keeper like Jackson Lee. It's kudos to him. But I don't even know if Josiah's goal was the best goal on the night, and we'll definitely talk about that a little later in the episode.
Yeah, I'd say for me it was, but I can see how that volley that JJ made was pretty close there too.
Agreed. But we got to move on and start talking about the team of the week. Obviously, Jason, when you put 4 in, one of these players is going to make it into the team of the week, and we are privileged. We get to enjoy the fact that not only do we see 1, not only do we see 2, but we see 3 players make it to the team of the week. First and foremost, we're going to talk about Josiah Kwizera, the Rwanda international. Obviously, if you were paying attention to the game, had 3 shots on target while notching 2 of them in. He also completed 22 of 30 passes, and he won 2 of the 3 duels, which earned him this spot. It wasn't just the goals. These players have to sometimes do more than just have wonder strikes, and it's a fair nod to Josiah being the first player nominated to this team of the week.
Yeah, but not only that, Nick Scardina got nominated here too. The 24-year-old recorded 1 assist and completed 28 of 40 passes in RFC's victory against Brooklyn FC, while winning 5 of 6 ground duels and 3 of 4 tackles, and recording 4 recoveries and 1 interception at Centerville Bank Stadium.
The chat is continuing to make the case for why Nick Scardina needs to be on the pitch. There's a chat conversation we're going to have in the mailbag a little bit later, but we got to capstone this off with the man up front, JJ Williams, the veteran forward, recording his brace in this after getting 4 shots on target, 6 overall in this match. We're going to talk about the woodwork and how the crossbar and the post were probably Brooklyn's 12th man on the night. You have to honor and respect the fact of all the work he put in on this game. I want to talk about a couple things breaking this down here. These honors are the club's leading for the 9th of both Williams and Kwizera's RIFC career. They've both been nominated 9 times. Scardina's first show in the championship for Team of the Week. Want to ask you, though, there have already been 7 instances within this season of players being nominated to Team of the Week action. If you had to guess, I'll let you either choose. You can guess, is it 1 player, 2 players, and you got to name them. I'll let you choose which destiny you want to take here. Can you guess who else is in Team of the Week honors here for Rhode Island FC?
For this season specifically?
Yep. So we have 2 other mentions so far this season.
Clay and Hugo?
Incorrect. That would be Frank Nodarse getting both additional nods to team. We've now had just 4 players this season get announced. But hey, listen, you love to see it. Kudos to all of these players. It's well earned. I can't wait to when we find out when they get silly accomplishments like this, that they earn additional incentives or bonuses, if you will, played out in their contracts. We're ratified on the CBA now, so let's start making some fun out of this. Getting into the game itself, want to ask you some initial impressions before we get to how Connor prepared this team on the weekend.
Yeah, ultimately, I think it was a good result. This is one of those teams you look at and they're, low on the table. They're leaking goals left and right. And honestly, it's one of the teams that we should be beating if we have, intentions to make the playoffs. I think the first start was a little rough, but ultimately we got it done.
I agree with that entirely. I was very scared in the first half. We saw so many opportunities not capitalized on. And I can't even say it wasn't clinical because it's hitting the post. It's hitting a player. Their back line is defending from the goal line. Jackson Lee is scrambling and crawling on the ground, trying to deny Rhode Island. You see several instances where the ball just can't find that extra inch to go in. And you start wondering, hey, is this going to be enough on the night? First half left me with some questions, not because the team wasn't good enough, but we've seen Rhode Island too many times this season need a little extra in the gas tank and then it not go their way by the end of 90 minutes. Obviously, second half completely flips the script. It's a story that we're going to have to start talking about this team being a second half team. It was great to see on the night, but still some questions in that first half. Glad the adjustments came, but I still would like to see this team come out a little bit stronger out the gate. Getting into table standings here in the Eastern Conference, are you surprised that with the win, we're still not in playoff contention at this moment in time? Because I was shocked by that fact.
No, I think I recently mentioned we need more than just one result, especially as, teams above us are still picking up points. So RFC's now got to 9th out of 10th. They're just on the outside looking in the playoff spots here. On a 3-3-3 record now, 12 points with a +4 goal difference. If we look at the league here, just the league, right? We take away the other competitions. 3 wins and 1 draw in the last 5 matches. Honestly, that form doesn't feel too bad. I think when we throw in the Prinks Cup and maybe even, it's been a minute, but the Open Cup, I think some of those results maybe have admired our overall form.
Agree. On the other side of it, you could argue clearly you're a glass half full guy tonight. I I commend that. If you look at it from a glass half empty side of things, we were winless in May until this result. And the form, if you look at the last 5 games, you're right. It is not a bad position to be in. I think there may have been some doom and gloom from a fan optics perspective, especially coming off of the loss in Brinks Cup action. I think the key point here, and it's something we're going to have to talk about a little later in the show, is does this win spark that catalyst? Is this the turning point? Is this the Memphis moment? Are we going through that now? Or is this a situation where, yeah, you go out and beat teams like this, something we haven't historically done very well so far this season? Again, the only club in the USL Championship to have given Sporting Club Jackson any points on the season. It'll be interesting to see where we take this result and the momentum we can generate getting up into that World Cup break. But we got to start talking about how Coach Kano constructed the roster on the day, because I think that's probably where we need to start looking into what we think the best starting 11 is moving forward.
Yeah, so we saw a little bit of change here. Koke Vegas and net here with a back line there of Scardina, Amity Diop, Aldair Sanchez, and Yao there with Bacharach and Holstad in the holding midfielder. Alfonso, Amos Shapiro Thompson, and Kwizera as your attacking midfielders, with JJ Williams there up top. A bit surprised to see Pitti dropped here for Amos. Interesting to see Scardina kind of make the cut as well. I think Scardina is finally starting to like grow into the team here. I think he had a bit of a shaky start. I think we definitely saw some potential from him, but maybe not initially what we thought, like he would just jump right into this team. Maybe it's been taking him a little longer to gel.
You're right. I mean, we didn't even think Rodriguez was going to be a starting caliber player, at least initially, as he needed time to integrate with this team. We didn't see that at the beginning of the season. I kind of want to direct attention to the fact that it's great to see Karifa Yao and Clay Holstead return to the starting 11, especially when you get the privilege of hindsight in the impact that Clay personally had in this match with the contribution to the score sheet. I still don't know, and because Kano wasn't in the post-game presser, we didn't ask the question to the, we'll call it surrogate coach that came in for the match to talk about the performance. I still don't understand why we didn't see those two players in the last 2 matches get their starts, but instead coming in as impact subs. I'd love to find out more as to what that is. We also look at this. I'm not sure if the case is ready to be made, if a back four with, again, I know it pivots on that dime of, as the team moves up one flank or the other, it becomes a back 3. But, we're seeing Aldair Sanchez, we're seeing Nick Scardina drop a little bit deeper back in a more defensive posture until we get the ball. I'm curious where this all goes transformatively in the formation selection. And then, of course, like you said, Amos Shapiro Thompson thought he had a good enough game. Specifically want to ask on this setup, do you think that this was a matchup of midfielders and what coach wanted to see out of Amos specifically, or do you think that there's going to be a continuous battle for that starting role in the attacking midfielder spot for Rhode Island?
It's hard to say this early with him just coming back recently from injury, but I think this was kind of a matchup based decision.
We'll have to see what that looks like as the weeks progress, especially for this Indy 11 game on the road on the weekend. Before we go to break, though, got to get through the heroes and zeros here. I'll let you start. Who were the heroes and who were the zeros?
Yeah, Jose Kwizera for that second half goal that felt like it kind of got the team back into it and led us to the victory. Zero gonna have to be Encarnacion. I don't enjoy the way that he refs games. So.
I almost don't want to spoil it, but there was a conversation that we had that Encarnacion might not be a factor on the match, and then we saw him factor all over this match. So I may have to call you out on it when we get to that segment. My hero, I'm going to go with JJ. It's the counter to Jojea. Both guys getting their braces on the night. Again, I thought some of what JJ had to do on the night was just spectacular. I'm going to give my zero as Leo Afonso here, and not because he deserves the zero title. That definitely goes to Encarnacion, but just to be different, it felt like Afonso was kind of absent in big moments of this game, disappeared a lot on the pitch. The looks that he did get, especially in the 53rd minute, he's going to want that back when he wasn't able to convert it to a goal. By no means do I think that he's an out-and-out player that we need to consider, relegating to the bench or whatnot. Sometimes strikers have bad games, and I think Afonso, this may have been his roughest one of the season so far. But hey, we got to go to break, Jason, and when we return, we're going to break down the biggest moments of each of these halves, all here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Thank you for listening to tonight's broadcast powered by Sprout Coworking. For all your business needs, large or small, visit sproutcoworking.com. Powering 990 WBOB, that's sproutcoworking.com. Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
Here back on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. Jason, we talked about it in our initial impressions of the match. It was a sloppy first half between the attack chances that weren't capitalized on, looking at the passing sequence at times. Brooklyn, I felt in the first half, did a little bit better in swarming. Their back line was a deeper line. Their press was not nearly as strong. But when we started to encroach into their half or even their final third, they kind of became busy bees to take that ball away. I think if you're Kano, you want to look back on that and say, we need to do better to start these games stronger instead of having to work harder in those second halves.
Yeah, I'd say if there wasn't a goal in the first half, I think that would have been a pretty poor first half. There's just a few too many misplaced passes, and the team just kind of looked a bit off of it. Like you said, they've struggled to kind of come out and start games well. Brooklyn honestly just looked a bit more sharper, more physical, and just kind of one step ahead of RIFC, with the exception of that final product there that's kind of been letting them down. I think, they maybe could be a better team this year if they could kind of get that figured out.
I don't disagree. I think sometimes you just have to have luck on your side. And while it didn't feel like it for the first 30-ish minutes, as we saw opportunity after opportunity get squandered, we did finally see lightning get captured in the bottle with Kwizera's goal in the 38th minute. Kwizera rotates the wings, switches for Afonso for a minute. They're running with Brooklyn, running at their own goal. It's a layover from Amos Shapiro-Thompson to a drifting Kwizera. He comes back into the box, and that ball didn't have a lot of pace on it, but it was low and it was in the right spot. Lee can't get his glove to it in time, and we see the first goal for Rhode Island come in, a statement for them scoring against the expansion side in the first half. Overall thoughts on the goal? We know the better goal was the second one, of course, but overall thoughts on Jojea's first goal?
No, I mean, it was a good goal there. In some way, it almost felt like we got it against the run of play. I think that, for the most part, Brooklyn was having somewhat of the better half there. And we kind of, got an actual counter that went well our way, and then we're able to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Clay that started from the high press to displace Brooklyn off the ball, and they just didn't have enough numbers forward. They were cheating a little bit too high up, trying to counter Rhode Island on their own. In terms of the goal itself, too, Amos Shapiro-Thompson collects his second career RIFC assist. It's his second in as many games across all competitions. So, again, we're seeing the case for Amos Shapiro-Thompson to deserve to be on the pitch. But then, Jason, we got to talk about Kwizera's goal scoring abilities here, because there's an interesting fact that we kind of pulled the thread on here. And I don't know if a lot of fans understand exactly what Kwizera's impact is, especially to those first half performances actually might be.
Yeah, he's been having a huge year for us. That was his fifth, and that's of Rhode Island's 17 league goals this season, which is 29% of our goals. So a third of them from one player there. 29% in the first half, which RIFC have been averaging 0.56 first half goals per league match this year. So not very good. The other 71% of goals have all been in the second half there.
Yeah, so 1.36 goal production after the half, just 0.56 at the beginning half. Weirdly enough, though, Kwizera himself, and I couldn't believe this, but he's responsible for 3 of the 5 opening half goals. So it's almost like, you're talking about the players that are consistently finding their way into the back of the net early on. Kwizera is the out-and-out front runner. He may not have the leading goal scorer because J.J. Williams gets that honor, but Kwizera is putting a lot of pressure and a lot of problems on back lines in those earlier moments. I'm not sure if that's a trend that's sustainable. I think we need the rest of the team to get into the game earlier, like you said, not wait to grow into it. But you can't deny that Kwizera has been nothing but success. I want to say on the right side, but that goal came from the left. So it's almost like this guy can do no wrong on any place in the pitch right now.
Yeah, I think we've kind of been expecting either Leo or Pitti to kind of be that second guy. And honestly, I'm a little bit surprised to see, but pleasantly surprised, I should say, to see Kwizera kind of pushing JJ there to for that golden boot this season in our team.
Yeah, getting into the second half where I think Rhode Island really showed the fans what this club can be all about. We have to start on the negative of CJ Only Jr. getting the equalizer in the 62nd minute. We talked, and we're going to hear this in the post-game interviews in a second. Everyone on the Rhode Island FC side of the camp, and I bet you Brooklyn would say the same, that was not a shot, but this is very reminiscent of what was his name? Luke Adams, is that his name for Lou City, and the cross that got just into the back of the net? Everyone was saying post game that wasn't a shot, that was just a cross gone wrong, and that they didn't maybe deserve that. But I guess kudos to CJ Only for netting that.
Yeah, second time they've conceded a cross shot. Unfortunate to see RIFC get caught up in the crossfire.
I see what you did there. Cross shot, crossfire. Moving quickly through it. Hugo, again, the crossbar in our way all night. Hugo gets a deflection off of a spill out from Leo Afonso. Ball drops back into the box in the 65th minute. Hugo tries to put it on frame, but there's just enough deflection from Lee to deflect that back into the bar. So Hugo does not see scoring. But then Jose Kwizera says, hey, in the 72nd minute, I'm going to do what I do better than anyone else, and that is curl shots from the top right corner. Jason, when are defenders of our opponent's teams going to realize you can't let Kwizera be in that spot uncontested for a goal?
I mean, if he makes a habit of this, I mean, there was players in the past, like Ian Robin would just do that and you couldn't stop him. So, I mean, I don't think Kwizera is there yet, but I mean, he's doing a pretty good impression. That goal was actually RFC's 100th regular season goal as a club there. And that was his fourth and fifth goal that he scored of the season, and his first career brace for Rhode Island FC. Fifth player here to record a multi-goal game for the club.
Yeah, he probably regrets not converting that initial attempt in the first half with his pelvis when the ball spilled out right in front of him and he just ran at and could have put a foot to it. That probably would have been Hattie worthy in that instance. We talked about Kwizera's impact. We talked about last year, the drop-off in Kwizera, the drop-off in Fuson, and it's just like there's a renaissance. There's a resurgence in Kwizera's game this year. We're going to talk about whether it's because he's now on the right side or something has opened up in his game a little later. But this may be the most important offensive storyline of the year. We expect JJ to continue. He's always been pretty even keel on his goal contributions and his production. It's been shaky on the wings. I mean, Noah Fuson getting assists now, not necessarily goals yet, but this may be the most important X factor to the season for Rhode Island. And then, of course, we got to quickly bring up for the goal, though, Clay Holstead getting his second assist of the season. It's the 10th of his career, and he's the third player in club history to record double-digit assist totals with Rhode Island. Again, you got to have Clay Holstead starting every game, Kano. I don't know what else to tell you. Quickly moving into JJ Williams. Now it's the JJ Williams show for a second. He gets the 83rd minute goal. So now we're just the floodgates are open, like I said. And I think this was the best goal of the night just because I am a sucker for volleys, Jason. Scardina floats one in. It's at pace. It is not like a lob. It is kicked hard at like waist height. And JJ Williams has no other time but to just one time it in the air, acrobatic volleying it to the side net. He's near post. Like Jackson Lee should have got this one.
Near post OP. So he
wasn't caught off guard. He just couldn't handle it at that speed. I think this was the best goal of the night, but prove me wrong if you disagree.
I mean, I just kind of, is personal preference. I prefer Kwizera's a bit, but this was a fantastic goal as well. That was actually Nick Scardina's third assist, team leading, by the way, too. So like I mentioned, maybe he's kind of finally showing his worth here to the team.
I agree. We'll talk about him at length again in a little bit. We got to get to JJ's final goal because he can't be stopped at this point. He gets the corner kick. Chicken happened. I hope people got their chicken if they're into that kind of thing after a cross from the corner from Noah Fuson, and he just hit that with just anger. Like he told Jackson Lee, go back to Brooklyn, we don't want to see you anymore, even though there were hugs all over the place after the game. But what a header. I mean, we want to see more of those. And sometimes JJ just can't get to the ball. He's held down. He's physically fouled in the box, but he was miles above his aerial dueler and put that one to bed. Seeing Rhode Island get the 4-1 victory there, you gotta love seeing JJ Williams stay hot.
Yeah, and so Williams there scored his 7th career multi-game goal game for RIFC, his team leading second brace of the season. Williams leads the team with 7 goals this year, and he's the club's all-time leading scorer so far with 26 career goals for RIFC. And Noah Fuson assisted his 2nd goal of the season, tallying his club-leading 17th career assist for Rhode Island FC. Maybe he's finally kind of getting back into form here too.
Erect the statues. That's all I'm saying. Like, let's get the JJ. And you know it's going to be this one, right? It has to be this statue at this point. Getting into JJ leading from a goal scoring perspective, there was a moment in this game where Georgia was leading. And again, we haven't seen Georgia's at his highest apex of goal production in his time with Rhode Island across all 3 seasons. If we were talking about who could actually be the golden boot for Rhode Island specifically by the end of the season, who are you making a case for at this point with, half the season still to go?
I mean, I would say it's probably JJ. I mean, at this point, as long as he can stay healthy, I mean, he seems like he's going to get a goal at least every other game, if not more. I just don't see anyone stopping him as long as we can keep him in tip-top shape,
Agreed. And I mean, we talk about goals galore. We've seen 4 goals against Charleston earlier in the, I guess not the month, but in the last 30 days, we'll say. But this is the first time since a very famous match where we won 8-1 over Miami FC, where there have been 2 players recorded scoring multiple goals. So we've hit the 5 mark, we've hit the 4 mark before, but we haven't seen 2 players taste that level of success in a single game since all the way back. So it's exciting to see. Cannot wait to see where these things go and open up where the possibilities are for Rhode Island. But we've got to go to our next break. And when we return, we're going to break down the biggest storylines coming out of this match. It's all here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Fans, as the weather becomes more and more unpredictable, be sure to check out 990 WBOB's weather page for all your temperature, storm, and travel info. Stay prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store with the 990 WBOB weather page. Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
All right, here back on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. Gonna get into our extra time segment that will be an exclusive for our YouTube and podcast listeners. So you're only going to get them if you come here, and if you do want to see them, always please check out the YouTube channel. So here's JJ Williams, after the match.
All right, Scott, you ready? Yep. All right, we have JJ Williams, another brace, and 2 more goals. JJ, we'll open it right up to questions.
Georgia's 2nd goal there. Just take us through what you saw and how clinical that goal was. And it felt like it really just broke down the door.
Absolutely. I mean, a great finish, especially whenever we get transition opportunities like that. If we make them count, I mean, that's a guy that's in form right now, who's got confidence, he's flowing. Whenever he cuts inside like that, especially if he can get that shot away cleanly, I mean, we've seen 2 hit the back of the net like that this year. I mean, if he's going to be in that kind of form, we're going to be all right.
Connor always talks about being ruthless in front of the net. It felt like that second half is exactly what that looks like. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, we got a couple of chances in the first half. I had one off the crossbar. We had another 2 or 3 that were really good chances that we just have to be a little bit better in transition. But to be honest, we create so many of those opportunities that whenever we do put a couple away, that's what it looks like. The game opens up, and if we get a lead, then it's very hard for teams if they're going to open up to try to get back in the game to compete with us, because I think that plays right into our strength.
JJ, we saw the frustration in the first half hitting the crossbar. Like you said, multiple post attempts. What was the conversation at the halftime in the locker room to make the adjustments? Because the final product was basically there. It was just, the posts getting in the way.
Yeah.
How did you make those adjustments going into the second half?
I think that we just had to stay stay disciplined, stay confident. I mean, we honestly conceded one, which it's another shot cross against us where the guy's going to cross it and ends up going to over Coca's side netting. I mean, exactly, completely unlucky. But we had to stay disciplined and realize that as long as we keep a clean sheet for 45 minutes, that we're going to get a result. We ended up giving up that, so we knew that we had to come right back and do what we were doing in the first half. You can't start trying to do something now and chasing the game whenever you're already dominant in the game. We just had to put away a couple of those chances, and that's what we did.
Speaking of being dominant, what's it like going up against former goalkeeper Jackson Lee with Rhode Island FC? Is there an advantage to the way you two play against each other, especially, this is just like training almost to a certain degree, right? Did you have an advantage in that, or because he knew who you were as the type of player, did you have to do something differently on the night to get those goals in the net?
No, I mean, to be honest, I scored really good goals that he can't do much about. He's a fantastic goalkeeper, amazing person. I mean, absolutely love this guy to death. So it's just unfortunate that we had so many chances for him tonight because, I mean, look at Joe Jaya's goal, look at my goal. I mean, there's the goals that we scored, I don't think he can do too much about. So it's more his team than him, but he's fantastic all the way around.
We've asked this a few times. Can this be the building block of something? If you can harness some of what you did that last 15 minutes?
That's right. I mean, I think that it really can be because you see whenever we're playing well what the results look like, what a half of football looks like for us. But you also see last weekend whenever we don't come out, we don't start well, we start behind and we're chasing the game, what 90 minutes looks like for us. So I've said it time and time again, and you guys are probably going to hear me say it a whole lot more. It's what team walks out of our locker room will be how the day goes for us. If we come out on the front foot, attacking, creating chances, putting away our chances, being clinical, doing the simple things, outrunning the other team, out-tackling the other team, then we're going to come out on the right side of it time and time again. But whenever we don't do those things and we're late, we're behind, we're a step off, we're a little bit late in our press, they can score early off of something of us just not being disciplined, then that's whenever we struggle.
Is your lower back tailbone okay? That one looked painful.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful how that's allowed. Absolutely disgraceful how that's allowed. And that's all I gotta say. It's just absurd.
Right, Doc?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just insane. Absolutely insane to me. It's my son would be able to call that. And I'm talking about my 1-year-old that just turned 1. He would be able to call this. It's ridiculous. I mean, you don't have to see. You don't have to see.
But how do you
My future son that we haven't even had yet could be able to, it's just crazy to me.
Because you still had to play a game and you still
Absolutely.
2 goals.
Absolutely, but if
You still got a yellow card, so I'm sure there's a line you got to walk. there.
Right, especially the way that I got the yellow card, crazy as well. And so then you sit there and go, something is happening that we cannot explain. And we just see that every single 50-50 that we go into is not going our way. And so whenever we go in there at halftime, guys, we can't say anything because then what's going to happen? We're going to get somebody sent off when we don't deserve that. So for me, especially being as big and physical as I am, I have to not go into challenges the way that I normally do because anything around, I see my first yellow card, don't even have a foul in the game, and I get a yellow for almost getting in a chokehold. I don't really understand it. So we just knew that we couldn't say anything. We just had to go and outperform, outplay, and that's what we did in the second half.
Speaking about performing, you get your first win in the month of May. What does this do for the objective of getting to that home playoff berth? Like, what's the conversation happening in the locker room at practice before game day? How do you guys feel this kind of win transports you into that goal?
Yeah, to be honest, I think that's the one thing that we struggle with a lot is because we're all so goal-driven and we understand what we want to achieve. But if you ever want to accomplish your goals, and this is something I have to tell myself every single day, is you have to focus on what you can control in the process. And the process for us looks like focusing on the next game, getting as healthy as we can, getting as ready as we can, and being the best team. If we look at wanting to be there at the end of the year, that's what every team wants to do. But we can't have performance like we had last weekend. We have to have performances like this weekend consistently, and we'll be there.
We'll go over here for our last question.
JJ, your next home game is Kids Night.
All right. I am going to leave the kids' night interviews for a special bit of Rhode Island FC content that they are cooking up with our kid reporters. So I will hold off on that and not ruin that fun, which we'll see on social media in the near future. Quickly talking about this, we are going to avoid the Encarnacion impact here because that is a whole other part of the talking segment. But I noticed two things of importance that JJ said. One is he found a new way of saying we take it a game by game. I really appreciated him not just saying that outright. So kudos to JJ for giving me a different version of that. But second, I noticed he mentioned something about like getting to the 45th minute, getting to halftime with a clean sheet, or at least not letting clubs score against Rhode Island really improves their result because it sounds like JJ admitted that they're not a team that does well when they're chasing the game. Obviously, you're working in 5-minute segments. You're working in the moment of the gameplay itself. But it seems like that they also agree, Jason, that this is a team that once that adjustment or once that mentality gets fortified in that locker room, come the end of halftime, this is an entirely different animal on the pitch.
Yeah, I think if they can get to halftime either leading or keeping a clean sheet, I think it feels like it gives them a sense of control. And they can go out there and say, hey, just 45 minutes more. And like, we can take control of this game and then we can make it ours. But yeah, like we've seen it, unfortunately, a few too many times where when they fall behind, they really struggle to get back into the match.
Thoughts on his comments about getting beat up? Again, not Encarnacion, but just the overall physicality. And I mean, he got completely laid out. That's an injury for lesser people.
Yeah, it is unfortunate to see. It feels like JJ and a lot of other bigger strikers kind of get lumped into this kind of, oh, well, you're strong, you should be fine. Like, you can take the hits. But at a certain point, there is a physical aspect to this game. But this is not WWE. This is not MMA. They're not out there to be knocking each other out. And sometimes these big strikers, they take hits that, lesser opposition would go down and get fouls for.
I think it's unfortunate too, because the league, the teams, the refs have already seen JJ's game. So I don't think it's something he can change now at this point, because maybe he'll get with simulation like we saw another player a little in that match get hit with. So it's unfortunate. We're going to hear from Coach Ugarte in a second here. Like, he feels the same way. I know Kano has advocated for that. In fact, we'll wait. We're going to answer that question when Ugarte comes on. Let's get to Jose Kwizera on his wonder goal of a night.
And Clay played the ball to you down the wing there?
Yeah. No, I saw I had a lot of space. I was like, hey, man, I saw Jackson. I kind of let her peek. I thought he was a bit off his line. So I was like, you know what? Let me test my luck. So, I already had to go tonight. So I was like, why not? Luckily, thank God it went in. So.
I think we've asked you about this before. Your goal, you're playing a different side of the field now, and you are a goal scorer internationally.
Yeah.
Is it just you're getting those more opportunities in more forward places and you're taking advantage of them?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I'm closer to the goal. Usually I don't have to defend as much, so that helps, and I have a lot more energy going forward. So, yeah, that helps a lot.
You said test your luck. When you have a game like tonight, do you feel like you're on almost? Like in basketball, you know when your shot is good. Do you know when your shot is good like that?
Yeah, it's like once you have to, I've had like, especially in the first half, there was one like kind of came off the shin, and you kind of have a taste. So it's like, oh, there's gonna be opportunities tonight. So, and we kind of started off early where we had some good, and you can feel it. So, and I felt it pretty early on.
What's that feel like?
Well, you just get a little thing. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get some tonight. So yeah.
JJ, I talked to you yesterday at the Legacy game. I asked you, are you going to do something special like that tonight?
Yeah.
You pull it off in so much and so much more. Walking through a game like this, how does this separate from the rest of the season of your performances? You get the brace, it's a golazo of a goal. Like, how do you differentiate this match amongst the rest of the other ones you've played so far this season?
We won, so I think the first game that I scored, we didn't win, so this is the second game that I've scored that we won, so we were trying to get points and climb the table. So enjoy, when we score goals and you get the 3 points, it's a really good feeling. So you can sleep good at night.
How important was that goal in the 77th? Because it was a 1-1 game. It's feeling like a lot of those games you played this year where you dominate and it's 1-1 and you're frustrated. That goal, as nice as it was also a huge goal for you guys in the context of the season.
No, it was good because it's like like I said earlier, like you feel like there's a lot of chances, even though we let them get into the game and stuff. But it didn't really feel like, a lot of times when you play like a tight game and you feel like, they just got one, and like the team feels down and the momentum shifts. Like we didn't feel like the momentum shifted, so we still had the momentum and just the confidence is there to say, we still have like 30 minutes left to get one. So it felt good to get one to open it up. Like that one was in, JJ started scoring and the game started flowing for us.
Have you ever scored one like that against Jackson in practice? Have you ever put one on him like that, a crawler around?
I think I have. I don't know. I have to remember. 2 years together, so I think I have. Maybe some of Bryant.
What was it like playing with him again? I mean, obviously you guys were here he was here for the formative years of this team.
No, it was good. Like, we love Jackson. He was such a big part of our locker room for 2 years. So it was also like, it was nice to see him. Also, as Gabby as well. He was here our first year. So it's always nice to play against friends and to have those, now we get a little banter against them, that we scored a few on him. So, yeah, it was nice.
Jorge, what's the next text message to Jackson Lee and Gabby Alves?
Yeah, the next one, maybe. Better luck next time. No, but it's just good banter, Yeah.
Anything else for Georgia? We'll go over.
Georgia, your next home game is.
All right, and that is Georgia Kwizera. His text, better luck next time, to Jackson Lee and Gabby Alves. Probably Taimu Okiyoshi as well, although he didn't get a showing like those two players. Jake from the Providence Journal, he asked the question, what did it feel like? Were you in the flow state? And he said something. He said something interesting. He said you got the taste early on, and he knew. Obviously, he gets to say that in hindsight, scoring 2 wonderful goals. What are your impressions on Georgia's abilities here? Because I almost want to ask the question, too. We're seeing such an amazing performance out of him in this early part of the season. On the right side, part of me wants to go to Kano in the time machine and go back and put him on the right. Like, what are you doing with this left side experiment? The game, Jason, by the way, 47% traction or action on the right side of the pitch. I think that's the first time in club history where we've had more activity on the right side than the left channel or central column. So this might be the quiz show at this point. What are your overall takes on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, so he definitely has played on the right a few times, but it felt like maybe it didn't work. And when we look at this team, it's kind of evolved over the 3 years. We're making slight adjustments to tactics and formations and things like that. It just feels like, though, he's finally flourishing as more of a traditional winger than what we saw like in the first season, where he's a wing back. Last year, he had a little bit of an off year. I mean, the team kind of did for a lot of the year as well, too. I think the impressive part, though, is if you look at stat-wise, he's still putting in a pretty good amount of work on the defensive side of things, too. So he's just adding more layers to his game instead of like taking things away.
I mean, I thought it was interesting. He talked about not having to defend as much, and it got me thinking, like, is this the add-on effect of Nick Scardina being in position for these matches? Because Kwizera definitely is going to do better if he has to do less defensive work, despite what, that might be. Almost want to ask you then, when you look at that from a larger standpoint, do we think that Kwizera is at his best when Scardina's on the pitch?
I think allowing him to move forward and putting like a more traditional fullback, if you will, behind him has kind of helped unlock that aspect of his game. I think in the past, maybe we were expecting him to kind of do everything. And I think his stats would lean heavier towards the defensive side. He's still putting in the work, defensively. And I think that's just the mentality of this team, right? Everyone gets back and works together defensively as a unit. But yeah, I think the adding of maybe a more traditional back line, if you will, has allowed him to kind of really flourish. And I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll see. Maybe he can get to double-digit goals this year.
I mean, at this point, you almost want to put a stamp on that as it has to be, right? Like when a player is this consistent across what because remember too, he's the player that gets hit with international breaks. In fact, the question that was asked to him from the kids' corner of this was, what will it be like to play at the next game? And he admitted that he's going to be playing for Rwanda in some international friendlies ahead of the World Cup. So for a player that sees probably the fewest minutes from a forward winger availability, you can't not hate the results you've seen so far on the season.
Yeah.
All right. And then now here is assistant coach Marco Sagarte as he comes in and steps in for Connor Smith on the 4-1 victory.
We had a really productive week coming off a poor result and a poor performance against Portland. So I think the big thing this week was stressing a response. And we had a good week of training, and I think the whole squad really locked in. And I think we had a really clear and simple game plan, and I think it certainly showed within the performance.
At 1-1, it felt a little like some games in the past, maybe. Why was this one different?
Yeah, no question. I'd be lying if from the bench, that feeling of maybe it could go either way was definitely, I think for me personally, was there. I think it was pretty, even though we had a good spell in the second half, goals change games. And when they made it 1-1, you never know. But again, another example of the group responding, which was really, really good to see, and scoring 3 goals in quick succession, I think was really positive. So, the goal came out of nothing, right? It was what looked like an accidental cross. And
did it deflect off his toe, off the defender's toe?
I don't think so.
Spin? It was just a weird spin off.
I think he honestly mishit it.
Yeah.
He mishit it and found the back of the net. So it was unfortunate, but yeah, we went back at it and scored 3 really good goals.
Coach, you see a lot of opportunities missed in the first half. Crossbars just getting in the way of some what could have been really good goals from JJ and Jojea. You're sitting on the bench watching that, and then you see the only cross goal, which we've seen before from Lou City last year. Kyle Adams did that. And what's going through your mind making those second half adjustments so that you can come back out on top and make sure that you put the game to bed?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this you need a little bit of luck, and I think with some of those moments, we've just been unlucky. I mean, we worked the long throw really well. JJ's in point blank position, gets clean contact, and it doesn't quite cross the line. So it's fine margins, it's inches. But the halftime was really about continuing the momentum that we had in the second part of the first half. Didn't really adjust too many things. Was just more so aware of where maybe they could be dangerous. And again, I think we started the second half pretty well. And again, the goal comes, sort of out of nothing.
Does this feel like it'd be a turning point? Jojea's goal in particular broke open this game. Can you keep rolling it on almost?
For sure. I think that's the challenge for this group is momentum, and I think we had a little bit in April, having an unbeaten month, and it was really good to see the group take on that momentum. And then, May, almost a new month, stifled a bit of that momentum. So now it's, we have Indy at the weekend, Westchester at home, and then Loudoun before a little bit of a break. So I think, again, these are crucial games where we can gather some real momentum before this break. So that'll be the challenge, right, is can we make this result and feed off of it.
Before this result tonight, most of the opponents that have been below you on the table have been dropped point opportunities, going all the way back to the home opener against Sporting Club Jacksonville. It felt like at times Birmingham and others where it just didn't quite work out, but then against much tougher opponents like Tampa Bay, even at Lou City, you took it to them. It's felt like it's matching the opponent's level almost at the table standings. How important is it to make sure that you win games against teams that, not just because they're below you on the table, but they're teams that you should be defeating solidly in matches like this? What does that say as a statement for the club at this point?
Yeah, the league is so competitive top to bottom. So, I personally don't look at the table very much, but the team in 12th in our conference versus the team in first, it's going to be a tight match. So whether, we're at home, so the expectation, the standard is to win games at home for sure. We want to win every game, and I think we're capable of winning, winning a lot of games. But I think more than anything to those games that you pointed out, Birmingham and Jacksonville, it just shows how moments can change games. I mean, Jacksonville, it's a shot from distance that gets parried away. It's a rebound goal. It's such fine margins. Birmingham as well. I mean, chances on our end, and we have an error on the set piece, and all of a sudden they make it 2-1. So it's really just about moments, and I think that was a big stressor this week, is not shooting ourselves in the foot, being really good at the basics, limiting those errors, right? And I think we will we have firepower, so we back our team to score goals.
I don't think anyone in this room or amongst the fans don't believe that a playoff hunt is within reach. Everyone believes in this team, but do you guys feel that a home playoff berth is still within your grasp?
Yeah, anything's possible. It's still May. There's so much that can happen. There's so many points on the table. So certainly Tampa is at the forefront to finish first in the league, but anything after that is in anyone's reach.
We'll go to one more over here.
Post your next home game here is Kids Night.
Yeah.
We have a kid reporter here.
Okay, I'm going to preface something right now. We're going to have the kid reporter for this one because he opens the floodgates for a very important conversation. So everyone bear with. This is the most important part to listen to for the entirety of this interview setup. So here we go, back to the interview.
Hard-hitting questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
How does the energy in the stadium affect the game?
Terrific question. It affects it massively, right? And when the energy is really, really high and really, really positive, which we saw tonight, and I know that we'll continue to see, it gives the group a lift. So when we're 1-1 and it's tight, that energy can be our 12th man.
What do you think about the equalizer from Brooklyn?
I thought it was a bit of luck, it was unfortunate for us because it really came out of nothing. It was an accidental cross, what seemed like, and it just found its way behind, Koke and hits the post and trickles in. Leading up to the goal, we can certainly do better, and we'll look at that, right? There's a moment where we can play the ball in behind, and so we're not continuing to be in our defensive third, but the actual goal was unlucky.
How did the refs affect the game?
That's a fantastic question, and I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to address this. I think the biggest thing that stands out is, and I'm sure you can tell, is the abuse that JJ gets, right? And it's something that really needs to be corrected, because the abuse that he gets, the punishment that he gets, he's bound to get injured. And the refs need to do a much, much better job protecting him, because he receives contact that if it was the other way around and he would be delivering the contact, he'd be getting yellows or sent off. And, he gets abused, and it's a routine foul and sometimes not even called. So it's something that, on a serious note, certainly has to improve, or if not, he's going to get injured, and player safety is the most important.
So what's your recourse with that? Do you send video into the league? How does that? Because he's obviously incredibly frustrated, and this isn't a one-time off thing.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's not. Like the low bridge he got tonight, where he landed on his back in the 6-yard box.
Yeah, it's criminal.
Is that a video you send in?
Yeah.
What do you do about that?
Yeah, there's a process after every game where we can provide feedback, we can provide evidence. Certainly that example that you just mentioned was, I haven't looked back at it, but I mean, it would look pretty clear cut. He's going to compete for the ball, and he gets undercutted, and he slams his body on the ground. It could be really seriously injured, and it's a no call. It's really baffling. And then even stuff in the run of play, like center backs just smashing into him.
You got smashed in the back, right in front of your bench. It looked
Yeah.
So what do you get, like, when you send stuff in like that? It's happened many times.
No question.
What do they say back to you? What's the messaging back to you guys?
It's pretty much same old story. Yeah, we'll look at it. We'll look to improve. We'll let the refs know prior to the game. But there's not enough being done. There's not enough being done, and it's something that really needs to get addressed.
So what can you do then? If that's the way it's going to be adjudicated, what can you do to make sure he doesn't get frustrated, because he's clearly frustrated.
Yeah, and as he should, and we try and check in with JJ all the time to do his best to keep his head. And I think for the amount of use that he's getting, I think he is. Although there's frustration, which is normal, I think he is doing a good job trying to get on with it. Knowing that he hardly gets any calls thrown his way. So all we can do is follow the process, which has been given to us, and hopefully hope for a change. But again, players, I always go back to player safety. No one wants to see any player get injured, and he's on his way if the referees don't do something about it.
You've coached across multiple programs across the country. What would be a solution if you could come up with one for yourself to implement and change in the pro referee system? You've seen it at the college level, you've seen it at the professional level. Like, what would be the thing that is lacking right now that you could go in and say, hey, tomorrow fix this one thing about it and it will improve player safety by X factor?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have the answer. I think what's most important is that the referees prior to the game are doing their homework, are very sensitive to the fact that, again, in JJ's case, it's been a trend. They need to understand ultimately the game, and the game is there's going to be a lot of contact thrown his way, right? And they need to be sensitive to that. And ultimately, they need to referee in a manner where if he's getting a certain level of contact, that there's repercussions for those moments, right? Cards, whatever the case may be, just calls, right? Sometimes we're not even just getting calls, and he's getting smashed. So, yeah, I think referees being more sensitive to it prior to the game, I think, is in this incident what needs to happen.
All right, so that is Coach Ugarte talking about the reffing. Kudos, and he said it afterwards that the best question was talking about the refs. Jason, that's a territory we don't normally go into anymore inside the post game, because normally when we ask those questions, it becomes a fine for a coach or a player. I mean, JJ Williams, after the microphones were off, we had some additional conversations with him, and he said some expletives that we couldn't repeat on this show or probably anywhere else about how he really felt in regards to the reffing. Let's talk about Joshua Encarnacion now. Ugarte just saying that there's a expectation or a priority to keep players safe beyond all of the calls that Encarnacion had on the night. How big of a failure is this from Pro and USL to not protect players like JJ Williams? Because that was a terrible crash in the box, and those things can't happen moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's important to highlight the way that Ugarte highlighted there, that is about player safety, right? We saw JJ go up for a ball and kind of get undercut there and just land really awkwardly on his back there. And that can probably really hurt. Fortunately, he didn't get injured. But I mean, we've also seen that in his career, JJ's kind of struggled with injuries here a bit, and he's constantly getting beat up here. And fouls should be looked at, objectively in regards of this is what a foul is. And it doesn't matter who is the one like causing the foul, right? It's like, well, this guy's big, so, he can take it, or this guy's small, he can't hurt you that much. So if he goes in for a challenge, he's not doing any damage. It should be kind of across the board the same.
I agree. I mean, we also talk at times refs insert themselves as a character into the game. Very much did this on the night. I'm feeling you're going to agree with me. He was not consistent at all in this match.
Yeah, I mean, like, looking at the match here, so RIFC got 5 cards for 11 fouls, which feels kind of harsh compared to Brooklyn had 2 cards for 19 fouls. So
I still don't even know how JJ Williams got his yellow card, because there's no replay of it. You had to see it in the moment, and we're not in the press box anymore to watch a replay. And so I don't know what he did as Encarnacion was watching the game as Brooklyn advanced. Whatever the action was, it happened behind him. JJ wanted to go to the AR to talk about it. Encarnacion was having none of it. There were multiple instances where it felt like Rhode Island FC didn't get their fair day in court, and Brooklyn got away with murder in this game.
Yeah, so to be fair, not all fouls are created equal, but for a lot of our RIFC players, it was their first challenge was a card. Whereas it took the two Brooklyn players, quite a lot longer to actually get their cards. I think one of them maybe for something else. Like it's so weird too, the way that he refs games. They're often very tight and very frustrating to watch. He doesn't let anything go, but it's also not consistent. Like he really messes with the flow of the game, and it's just not enjoyable to watch at times.
I think he gets a lot of these calls wrong. I think that even though we've seen some success under him, because you brought this up last week, that we haven't lost every game that he's been in charge of. It just feels like there's a case to be made that he might be the most infamous ref in our overall grouping. He's no Natalie Simon or Alyssa Pennington, as mentioned in the comments here. Frankly, I don't want to see him ever in front of Rhode Island FC matches unless it's as the fourth official, because I'm just not impressed with him overall. And to Agarte's point about we can challenge the pro organization to do better, it doesn't seem like there's improvement from this particular ref. And I know it's a hard job, but like one of the other things we need to get pool reporting where we can ask pro refs. They have it in the MLS, hashtag not an MLS soccer show. Reporters should be able to ask and challenge when refs make decisions post game. There's a process for it. And I think we need that in the USL, because I think a spotlight needs to start to be put on these guys and gals as they want to move up the ranks themselves. I don't see it from Encarnacion, and I would be completely okay if he was never in charge of a match for the Amber and Blue ever again. Want to tie this off to the most questionable one of the night, and that was the Zach Harivo simulation. Overall thoughts on what you saw from that in the moment watching it at Centerville Bank Stadium?
It's hard to tell from the angle we are at. Certain players get reputations. I know Chico got caught embellishing once or twice, and kind of believed it in those cases. But Zach Harivo, don't feel like he's a guy that just goes down that easily. I mean, also sometimes things that can also just be no calls, right? Like if it's not a foul and it's not a dive, maybe it's just nothing.
And I think that's the key, is it's the embellishment of it. I mean, Harivo is at pace. He has a harder touch than he wants going into the box, and there's enough contact there from the other player. It's not enough to send him careening forward, but it's also not nothing. And I know some people saw the replay and absolutely agree that it's definitely not penalty worthy and it's closer to simulation, but there's also an opportunity where, like, Harivo didn't make a meal of it. He didn't sit on the ground and flounder and flop around. He got up almost as quickly as he fell. And I agree with you. Like, fine, if you don't want to call it a penalty, you don't want to call it a foul in the box, leave it as a 50-50 and don't worry about it. Like, to give players simulation cards in this day and age, unless it is a gross non-contact, over-the-top eccentric, duping, if you will, it reminds me, like, that's not the spirit of the game. Like, they were running at full speed. This was not something where Harivo had a lot of other options. He may have had to do that just because that's the way his momentum was carrying him. I just didn't see enough on it to be a simulation. At the same time, I don't think it was anything close to a foul or penalty worthy from Brooklyn's side of things.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving into this here, we already kind of talked about Amos Shapiro-Thompson in for Augustine Rodriguez, but overall, from a player profile perspective, does AST offer something similar to Rodriguez in that regard? I feel like once Augustine came on, again, we saw some of the production. They didn't one-for-one swap. I thought that was pretty interesting initially. Do we see Rodriguez being a different type of player than what Amos is offering, or do we see Amos as kind of the utility player in the midfield?
I think Amos leads more towards the utility, right? That there are some similarities between the two players, but ultimately they're different styles. If you look at Augustine Petit Rodriguez, he's more of your traditional 10, right? He's trying to link up play, looking to create an attack. I mentioned to everyone on this team works hard to contribute to defense, but when you look at AST, I think he's going to be a little bit more of that bulldog in the midfield who's kind of going all over the place. One of his strong points is his work rate, right? He kind of just doesn't stop. He keeps going and is going to press probably a little bit more, maybe effectively than you would get from Augustine. earlier on in the season, we've kind of looked at this team and we questioned maybe exactly where his positioning would be. Maybe going forward, this is kind of the move. You look at on the night what the opponent looks like, how they're going to set up the structuring, and maybe depending if you need a little bit more grit and kind of steel, if you will, in the midfield, you throw AST in there, maybe tire them out, and then bring in Pitty. If it's a team maybe that's going to set off or doesn't sit back, doesn't press as well, maybe you want the creativity of Pitty instead.
Talking about the creativity leading to goals here, this team now, Jason, has the second highest goal differential positively in the Eastern Conference at 4 goals. Tampa Bay, of course, running away with things at a positive 12. But even if you expand it to the Western Conference, they'd still be a top 5 team in goal differentials alone. And yet they're 9th in the table standings. Goals don't equal wins. Why is it that this team can't see better table success early on, despite the fact that this might be one of the highest scoring offenses we've seen across club history?
Yeah, I think it's because of the way this team kind of when it's on, right? Kind of the way that Kwizera mentioned in the interview that you kind of feeling it, that if you will, they tend to score in bunches, right? When things go well for the attack, they'll score multiple. Right? This team has scored 4 against Charleston and Brooklyn. They scored 3 against Lexington. I mean, even in our loss against Louisville, we put 2 against them. So it seems like when the team is hot, they'll kind of just lay it on. But when not, they're not firing on cylinders. It's kind of not working. But when we do end up losing, then right, because we've been able to maintain a pretty decent goal differential, they don't lose by much usually.
When they're hot, they're hot. When they're not, they're not. We asked Ugarte, is this a home playoff possible team? And of course, he's got to say yes in the interview. But when we talk about it mathematically, outside of that first position, Tampa Bay probably won't be edged out. It's still possible, but looking not like it. Is there a home playoff berth in this club's future at 9th place right now?
At this point, I'm starting to think it's a little bit more of a possibility than I did a few weeks ago. Some of the and if we look at the results, and if you can even we don't need to bring the table back up, but if you go back and look at it and look at the kind of form that a lot of teams in, look at Louisville, right? They've lost 3 games in a row. So, and then now Pittsburgh's all the way down there in 8th. We thought that maybe they would be a little bit stronger this year. Some of the teams that we expected to be doing better than they are right now are slipping up. So there's definitely a lot of parity in this year's iteration of the championship so far, with the exception of Tampa, who's just probably not going to lose an entire game this season.
When you look at the form real fast beyond Tampa, the only other 3 teams in current 5-game form that have 1 loss or less are positions 9 through 11 in Rhode Island FC, Birmingham Legion, and Loudoun. Every other team in the championship has lost 2 or more of their last 5 in the Eastern Conference right now.
Yeah, so it's kind of chaos right now. So I definitely think it's a bit more possible. And you also look at the games played. Some of the top teams there have 10 and 11 matches. RIFC there, still at 9. So there's a potential another 6 points that are potentially up for grabs that could immediately shoot us right up the table. So at this point, I think it's possible, but we're going to need to continue that momentum, like Ugarte said.
You talk about the opponents, you talk about the points available. We only have 2 more championship matches in Indy 11 and Loudoun before the World Cup break. How many of the available 6 points? And of course, there's the USL Cup with Prinks Tires. But of those 2 matches, how many of those points do we need to still stay in contention for home playoff?
Yeah, Prinks Cup, they have to win that or just to even have a chance, because also that's kind of out of our hands. But looking at the league, Indy's currently in 5th. We tend to play better against teams that are higher up. Our record against Indy is a little, if I remember, back and forth. We'll talk about that later this week. But, that's a team that's a match where we need at least a draw. And then you look at Loudoun, and I think it's time to finally break the curse. And I think we need to go out there and beat Loudoun, right? They don't have Ryan Martin anymore. They blew up their entire team. I mean, unfortunately, their form looks pretty strong there. So, but let's put a loss in their column. I'd say 4 points out of league would be a good return. 7 if you're going to count the Prinks Cup.
It would have been great to play them earlier in the season when they were at all of their losses, but hey, you can't always get what you want. And what we got to do right now is go to our final break. When we return, it's going to be the mailbag, all here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
All right, getting right into it here. Joe P says, great game plan of pressing their shaky back line, which led to turnovers and chances. Could have won this game 7-1 if we had converted those close goal line chances. Kwizera and JJ have been playing their best that I've seen this season. Let us hope their 1-2 punch carries over to Indy.
I agree. I'd still like to see a little bit more activation from Afonso, Rodriguez. I think we need to get more players into this in our best season so far to date, being 2024. The goals did come from our strikers in Chico and Williams, who got double-digit production, but then we had all of the secondary, the assembly of the rest of those goal scorers, and like Frank Nadarce, Mark Ibarra. So I think we're going to need to see a little bit more, and I don't want to hang our hats just on 2 really good players. But I agree, you can't deny the brilliance right now and the consistency that Kwizera and Williams are on. Rachel M writes in, are we a good team again or not yet? 3 out of the last 4 home games have been pretty good watches. What are your thoughts?
I think we're very close. I think the momentum here is going to be the key word of the night. Is we need to carry that momentum forward. Looking at the form like we talked about earlier, like things look like they're kind of going in the right direction, but there's still concerns about the way that this team starts matches. That has me a little hesitant to say that they're a good team just yet. Ben S says here, not a question for the bag, but shout out to Jose Kwizera having his best goal scoring season wise. 7 goals this year total with us and his nation. His previous high is 3, playing out of his mind. Shout out to him.
I don't disagree. I mean, again, we talked about this earlier. We didn't know we needed this, and now that we have it, we can't let it go. So
it's such a shame that they did not make the World Cup, because that, I imagine that would have been the most sought after Panini card of the RIFC fandom.
That or Jamaica with Dwayne Atkinson, they were just as close, maybe even closer to that regard. I mean, we pulled the Panini cards for was it Lucaido in Curacao for Miami
scored
FC.
A hat trick. Yeah, I mean he's
Miami FC is in Panini, but Rhode Island is not. That is the criminal shame here. But Ben, I agree with you 100%. I think early on, not knowing where these players are at in their contracts, I think Jojea is making a case for a 2027 extension before any other player. I don't know if he's got a multi-year. I'd have to go check my sheets, and I'm in Hawaii right now, so I don't have that information in front of me. But I almost would be curious if we see Kwizera be the first to get a renewal contract offer, especially because his last one came so much later than the rest of the players. So shout out to him. Eric N writes in, should there be an argument that Nick Scardina is a lock-on starter at this point? That would mean Franco Darce is out. What do we think about that?
I think it's a conversation to be had. I think this could also be another situation where you compare it to the way we were just talking about AST and Pitti, where depending upon the matchup and how you want to set up for the day, you could maybe swap those 2 in or out. Maybe if you want to have a little more grit, maybe a little more street football, if you will, throwing a Darce in there, see if you can, cause some chaos. I mean, I think he's also a bit bigger of a body, so he's going to kind of give you that extra, like, kind of strength and defense. But Scardina going forward is looking pretty good right now, so I would expect to see more of him. Brad L here says, sucks to see Lee have to watch 4 go past him from former teammates. Do you think he's cooked in Brooklyn?
I don't know. We have not seen Marlon LeBlanc do a consistent goalkeeper rotation. Got some insider information that LeBlanc is trying to still find who his lock-on starters would be, including in the keeper position. I don't think that that's a great look for teams as they try to form their identity, especially in net. I think that's where so much of your tactical style and ability is demanded of, is in the net, because everything else is chance, right? Like, especially if you're a team that's building out the back like Brooklyn wants to by holding on to possession, I don't know that that's good. And I think Lee brings a lot more to the table than Lucas Burns. But also then having 4 go past, we've seen LeBlanc kind of pivot pretty quickly and pretty hard. Your guess is as good as mine. If Lee's in the net this weekend, I think Lee's going to get another chance if LeBlanc moves back away from him. But it definitely doesn't help his case, considering he hasn't been that lock-on starter yet. So we'll have to see. But no, I don't think he's cooked. I think he's going to get
the defense. The defense isn't doing him any favors either. So it's really not.
So Gabby Alves is cooked, is what you're saying.
Maybe they just need to restructure that. He's a left. He should be playing left back, not left center back or whatever.
Agreed. Sarah M writes in here, did either of you guys pick up any of the international scarves? They're my new favorite for the World Cup.
No, at least not yet. I mean, I think they're specifically for season ticket members. We'll see what we can do to get one. You know, I'd love to get a Ireland scarf, get Robbie Keane to sign it right there. They're going to play in the World Cup this year, right?
I listen, I will say this. I have a request out to the team. And so communications, ownership, I've made the request for a Scotland and Ireland for you, buddy, and a Cape Verde. And so I've been told that there are 3 that will find their way to me. I will pay for them. I'm not looking for free gifts, but did not get a chance to buy one as season ticket members. We're all over that. But Sarah, to your question, the Scotland one is mine. So for the ownership, please make sure you put an email and go make sure Matt and Raising Anchor get what they need to promote our wonderful club. Next question here.
Luke K says that ref was terrible. I know you warned on the show to keep expectations low, but why isn't the league doing something about refs if they constantly screw up?
I mean, you know, I can't say it better than Coach Ugarte. You know, it looks like there's a disciplinary review or complaint process, and it sounds like pro refs don't take anything into consideration, aren't answering those kinds of things. It's yeah, we hear you and we'll see what we can do. When police are policing themselves, it's not like you're going to see change. I think the best we could do is just hope that Joshua Encarnacion gets sick or his flight get canceled every time he heads to New England moving forward, because I do agree with you, Luke. He was not a good ref, and I think we deserve better. I think the larger conversation, Jason, and we don't have enough time to talk about it today, but I think at some point we're going to have to explore, what does this look like for Premier? Because when MLS was going through their strike, we got some of the MLS pro level refs to come down and ref USL games because they needed to stay sharp, they needed to stay fit, and they were getting paid from the contractual obligation. Now that this is back in full swing, what does that premier level of reffing look like in the future? Do we get some of MLS's core groups siphoned off? Like, that's the bigger scare for me, because when there's table standings and Encarnacion has the ability to impact that, like, we complain about refs now. We may complain about them at a whole new level if that's the, you know, live or die situation for a club moving up or moving down. Alex L writes in, I love this question, Jason. RIFC score 4 in a CBS Sports Network game. Has the CBS curse been lifted?
I think so. I think the funny thing maybe is because we didn't even make a big deal of it all. I honestly only realized it was a CBS Sports game the day of. I was like, oh, this is on TV, because generally not something we want to think about, because usually ends up in a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, that completely went past me too. So Alex, kudos on reflecting on that. I think the curse has been lifted, but that is the end of the show. It's been a long one for those of you that watched along on YouTube or listening on the podcast side of things. We thank you so much for joining us. A reminder, we're going to have the John Morrissey of USL Tactics and Backheeled on to help us preview the Indy 11 game on Thursday. But aloha from me for now.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, y'all. Anchors up. We'll see you next time.
Anchors up.
You've been listening to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. You can follow the show on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok at RIFC Podcast and at Raising Anchor on Instagram. And be sure to check out and subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen by searching for Raising Anchor. Make sure to check out all of our coverage over at the Blazing Musket for all your New England soccer coverage, including RIFC news at theblazingmusket.com. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask you to be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the show. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm your main man, Juju, and on behalf of the Raising Anchor crew, goodbye for now. And as always, we are Rhode Island FC.